I want to talk to Brutus here. I think Brutus has a really interesting question. What do you think?
Yeah, I know Brutus from Secular Sexuality. Thanks for following us around.
Well, cool. Let's go ahead and start with that. Brutus, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
I'm talking to you. And it's actually something that I did touch on a little bit in Secular Sexuality on one of my calls, but I think you two are about the perfect people to talk to about this because you're a sex therapist, and then Dan is a guy who's been in like the pickup artist world before, and he's kind of recovered from that.
Yeah, I'd say before. So people who haven't seen that episode, right? I just want to make sure. I was never a pickup artist.
Just
I read
in the world.
Yeah, I like was reading some that red pill stuff in college, and I was like, some of these ideas are appealing to me. But I wouldn't have called myself a pickup artist. I want to be very clear about that because
okay.
I don't want that on my reputation. Okay, so
all right. And it'd be totally cool. There are other progressive YouTubers who used to be in that world. So
yeah. I mean, it gets.
Former is a powerful word.
Yeah, I seriously recommend people watch it because it is fascinating, some of the stuff that they tell and how, in that moment it can seem convincing to you because of your experiences and just yeah.
Oh yeah, I even found out that I'm a dom through it by accident. Just because of the alpha male thing.
Right, the alpha male kind of
yeah.
But anyway, Brutus, what do you want to talk to us about?
Well, I've been trying to basically start a movement, though I'm not entirely sure even how to do this, but I've been wanting to have basically it's a kind of a male positive feminist movement that would focus on helping men develop certain relationship and dating skills with women that would kind of pull them away from those types of communities and give them a more healthy way to kind of learn how to interact with women and how to have better relationships with women and not have all this pent-up anxiety and anger that often results in frustrated men joining hardcore right-wing groups talking about how women are all sluts, but at the same time, women also, that's one thing I actually don't understand is they complain that women aren't fucking them enough, but then they complain that women are too slutty now. So that's one thing that I never really got, but that's a side thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's such a serious problem, and it does reach other parts of society. I think Trump got elected in part because of male anxiety and frustration. I think the funneling of men into these right-wing groups, a lot of these men are lonely men who are struggling, who don't know how to deal with this or that, and these right-wing groups say, you deserve to have women kiss your ass because you're a guy.
Bruce, like the Proud Boys are really wrapped up in this type of ideology,
right?
And got name checked this week.
Yes, and I don't think it started with Trump. I think this has been going on I think this has been happening at least since Gamergate. I think that was kind of a big start to it.
Well, I think that Trump, that part of the reason Trump won is because of these anxieties, and the other reason that I wanted to bring this up is like, women having equal rights and women having equal agency to these guys means women are going to treat me like shit and they just want to have power over me because they feel like women have always had power over them because they don't have certain skills for dealing with women.
Right.
And it creates a huge problem because now they feel like it's either you destroy feminism and put women back in the kitchen and force them to be barefoot and pregnant and kiss your ass all the time.
Right.
Or you're going to be sitting either being alone or a big black dude's going to fuck your wife and you're going to have to deal with it or something, which is part of the reason I think that they use terms like cuck, because it seems like it kind of speaks to some of their anxieties about men stealing their women from them or them not having control over their relationships or them being abused.
Yeah, and to anybody who hasn't heard, like, Brutus's language is pretty explicit, but that's like word for word, like what people have been posting about this stuff online. Like when Christy and I were talking about this, I think this has been going on for a while, and I think it's because of people's. You're right; they don't have the skills, and most of these dudes, like, they're teenagers. They're teenagers, or they're like just really young men. Like, you'll have the stories of the people who have been married for a long time and they feel jilted, and then they discover it. But like, my suspicion is that a vast majority of these guys are pretty young and just don't have that life experience yet to have those healthy relationships. But well, Brutus, I want to answer your first question, because your first thing was you wanted to start kind of a better a movement for this to kind of help people get out of it. And I would say there's a couple of communities out there that are trying to do that you might take some inspiration from. One of them is the male lib subreddit that I was talking about earlier, that talks, that is kind of like the opposite of the red pill. It's dudes talking about healthy ways and how to have relationships with the people around them, and understanding what it is to be a man in 2020, and deconstructing some previous narratives, and maybe constructing narratives for themselves that work better for their identity. But as far as what else to do with that, I think Christy's the better person to talk to. So Christy, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know that there's like a particular book I can recommend that is going to, explain all of gender theory or anything along those lines. I would just say that any organization that you're putting together, you're going to want to include some female voices in it. Even a group of men for men to heal men. If the issue that you're tackling is an issue of women, you're going to want to include some female voices. And I would make sure you do that, not just in like the literature that you do, but, on some sort of like board of directors or whatever else that might look like.
Good point. Good
all
point.
Of these issues, if you're hetero or bisexual, then all these issues are going to affect you. Even if you're queer, these will bite you in the ass somehow if there's just enough toxicity in our culture that's creating a problem. I mean, like when it gets really bad, there are groups of right-wing men who will straight out assault lesbians because they think that they've been broken or something like that.
Yep. It's sad. It's sad, the violence that happens to these communities, because of it's purely because of the socialization. I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know. I think that the strongest case to be made is for the socialization of how we've grown up and how men have perceived themselves in society, as far as like what we deserve and what we're like, how we're supposed to operate as men, what's expected of us. And I think that really gets to people's heads, and obviously it's done a lot of harm. There's a lot of evidence for that. So any kind of deconstruction process that you're starting for people, I mean, good for you for trying that. I can only encourage you. We have like a whole lot of calls tonight. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we kind of wrap things up here?
Not much. I'm just trying to think of the marketing. Like, I've tried to come up with names for it, like the white pill, but I don't think I want to create another goddamn pill.
Yeah, I would avoid any pill marketing.
Done. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, there's now the red pill, the black pill, the blue pill, which is the opposite of the other two. And it's just like, okay, we've taken enough goddamn pills.
Yeah, enough with the pills, right?
Yeah,
pills. I don't know. I can't help you with your marketing, but if you do something, like, let us know. I'd be curious to know what you do with that, and I'm sure a bunch of other people would too. But thanks for calling in, Brutus. I hope we were able to give you some help. But I appreciate you asking us that, because that's a good thing. It's a good thing to do, right?
Yeah, best of luck to you.